So my name is Dawson. I'm of class 07, 007. We were super proud of that. And I was a day student, so I actually grew up in Sedona. It's actually a funny story. We moved to Sedona because of the school. I actually was born in Phoenix, Paradise Valley, which anybody who knows Phoenix, Paradise Valley is like sort of the Orange County, I guess, of California. Also maybe an obscure reference, I don't know. But my parents so we were growing up in Paradise Valley where, and just to give you a context, my friends, like older siblings, turning maybe like 15, were getting cars for their birthday. So that's a context for Paradise Valley. My parents found out about Verde Valley. I don't know how they found out about it, but they found out about this liberal arts school in Sedona. And my older brother, Aaron, he was about to start high school. So we moved up to Sedona for Aaron to start at Verde Valley. And then my other brother, Sander, he went to Verde Valley for a year, but he was sort of the rebel of the family, so he was only there a year. And then I went starting 2003 for 4 years. It's funny because I was listening to that question beforehand, and I was thinking about my first memory of Verde Valley, and it's probably my older brother, Aaron, because he was the first one to go, and he was in theater, and so we all went to go watch the play that he was in, and he played a woman. He came out in this dress, and he had this high voice, and I was like, where the hell are we? Like, what kind of play is this? And he actually, you know, everybody was laughing, and he did a great job, but it was also a very serious play. Like, he really was playing a woman. They also played or performed, I think, Hot Coffee, because it was about the McDonald's scandal. So how old was I? I was probably, if he was 14, I was probably like 11 or 12, watching Hot Coffee, thinking like, wow, these high school students, like they're really intelligent and grown up, and you know, they're performing these plays that are about like political issues. And even as like 11-year-old, thinking like, that's super cool, I want to go here, you know, this isn't, I imagine, what most schools would be playing, although I didn't really have any other reference. So yeah, I'd say my first impression would be the theater, Brady Hall, and my brother on stage, just being embarrassed for him. Well, VBS has, and I assume everybody probably says this, but VBS had an incredible impact on my life. And I know everybody genuinely says that. You know, people don't just say that, they actually mean it. And I think I probably chose the career that I'm in now, partly because of my experience at VBS and learning about cultural differences and political issues and social differences. So I remember going to college, taking away VBS, or taking VBS with me and continuing in photography. I started a major in photojournalism, and Jeff Perkins, you know, very much influenced, I think, that decision. And photojournalism just sounded so cool. I moved to New York to study photojournalism because it was like, oh my God, I could take photography and everything that I learned from VBS and photography and combine it with telling stories, which VBS was so good at. And, you know, friends telling stories of where they came from, and, you know, I felt like VBS for 4 years was sort of like compilation of all these amazing stories. So photojournalism was sort of able to maybe encapsulate VBS, but take it further and combine social justice and photography. And so that said, photojournalism then led to, it's a long story, but it essentially led to law school. And now I'm a public defender. There's, I think, a lot of reasons that I became a public defender, but VBS being a huge part of that. Because we're representing the impoverished and the down and out, and a lot of the minorities, because the criminal justice system right now is primarily minorities, and a way to keep minorities disenfranchised and behind bars. And so I would say VBS has had, just as everybody probably said, a huge influence on me. Okay, so I did Mats Ortiz my freshman year, which was incredible. Baja, California, which was fun. That's the word I would use for Baja. And then I did Crestone with Dudley and Calibri, who's sitting over here, but you can't see her. And my senior year I did Malawi. We were the first Malawi trip. And so those are the 4 that I did. They all were so different and incredible in their own way. But I have to say, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but not surprisingly, Malawi was the most influential and adventurous field trip. So Jeff Perkins, I think, comes to mind because to this day, he inspired me creatively, but the career that I'm in, I don't get to really exercise that creativity, but I want to, like, it's still there. Like, I want to continue with photography, or anytime I go back to the school to visit and I go into the ceramics room, I'm always like, oh, it'd be so cool to just like do this right now. But also I'd say Daniel Dudley, because I was his student probably 3 of the 4 years that I was there, and I was terrible at math, but he was too fun-loving and happy to ever give me a hard time about it. And also he was the one that I went to Malawi with, and I would say Daniel Dudley is maybe at the top of my list, just because I have never met a more happy, fun-loving teacher, but also that cares a lot. Like, there's so much bad going on around him. Like, Malawi's a great example. He went to the Peace Corps, and somehow it was like nothing negative really got to him. He just channeled it into a positive way. And then Andy Gill, he was my advisor, loved him, made me like science in the moment, not today, but Griff, I feel like now that I'm naming people, I'm going to leave people out and I'm going to be mad about it, so I'm going to stop. But there were a lot of influential people. So Calpi is definitely up there, and I know that's probably a common answer because like we went back there to get into trouble, and but also truly enjoy like the beauty of it, which I don't think most high school students were probably doing. But in the recent years, since my parents still live in Sedona, so I'll go back and once in a while I'll go to campus. And every time I go into Brady Hall, it's just like there are more memories associated with Brady Hall than I think any other place. And you know, Cow Pie is epic, but I've been on hikes and epic hikes since then, and I feel like Brady Hall really brings up the most memories, but it's also so like it sort of creaks, and it's got this like authentic historical vibe to it. There's just so many things that took place in Brady Hall, not just plays, but I was also in dance, so we had class in Brady Hall, and then we did the like semester show, I forget what it was called. But we also got into trouble in the Brady Hall, you know, go when we weren't supposed to. We had our senior meetings in there sometimes where we got into these epic fights about like, what song are we gonna play for graduation? That turned into an epic fight in Brady Hall. It was between Rage Against the Machine and Jurassic 5. And there were certain people that were advocating for one and they lost. Needless to say, Rage Against the Machine lost. Jurassic 5. So if I can go back to, 13-year-old Alex, right before VBS, and tell her something, I think I would just tell her that to find comfort in the fact that there is nothing I would change about the 4 years that I was there. Even the heartbreak and the getting in trouble, all of it. I would just tell her I wouldn't change any of it.